I'm here, joined by Scott Durnick, delightfully so. He has been out on the track earlier today and joins me here in the booth. First of all, I'm going to ask, before we turn to our IMSA GT FIA Group 4 et al., Group 7, Scott, what are the conditions like there? It was slippery yesterday. Is it any better today?
Yeah, it was really hot. It was pretty slick. Yesterday, the track late in the day was really slick. It almost felt like your front tires didn't have much control authority. These are the conditions. This is the hand we're dealt, and it's a great event, a great venue, and we're here to have a good time. So here we go.
Group 7. This is 72 to 81. IMSA GT, AA GT. I don't know AA GT. FIA Group 4, I do know, and Group 5. So quite an eclectic group.
It is, yeah. There's a big disparity in cars here. There's cars like the Dekon Monza, which are dedicated tube frame, big V8 racing transmission. Then there's other cars like the 914-6. Production based, admittedly upgraded suspension and things like that. Then cars that even are a little bit closer to the production car, like some of the BMWs, the 3.0 and the 3.5. 3.0 especially, they had lighter bodywork and they had revised suspension, but there's no mistaking that's a car that somebody somewhere is driving to the store to pick up some coffee.
I have to say, though, Group 7, not for the faint-hearted. These are not a car that you can just throw an amateur at and say, knock yourself out. These are proper racing cars. You need to know what you're doing to drive these well and to drive these proficiently. We do have quite a strong field of guys who fit that. Martin Lauber we saw there, Charles Nürburg, you mentioned. Carrie's out there. He was going to try to get out there in his Porsche, but Cameron Healy. These are good name drivers, of course. Ranson Webster, Richard Goldsmith. These are guys that know how to pedal.
Yeah, it's not their first trip to the rodeo. They've been around the block. There's some serious hardware out there. The RSRs are certainly extremely capable cars. The cars that you're going to see are surprisingly fast are the Dekon Monzas. Everybody thinks of those as some sort of GM Econobox from the 70s, but I think other than maybe the emblem on the side, there's not much else about a Dekon Monza that's in common with the cars around the track right now.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me, looking across this field, that the governing authority board putting this together must have been a real struggle to try to get so many different cars from so many different walks of life, so to speak, all in one group and have it not go awry or have complaints or not have, balance of performance, whatever you might call it. But because it's such an eclectic group, it must have been hard at the time to get them all racing together.
Yeah, in period, the classes were a little more stratified. There was Group 4, Group 5. There were balance of performance issues. The RSRs were forced to carry some weight. The Dekon Monzas eventually carried some weight, but the Dekon Monza had an advantage that it was classed differently because it used a production-based pushrod engine. So all these cars use production-based engines, but there was a lot of granularity in the rules about configuration and then advantages and minimum weights. It was a pretty complex landscape.
Here we go then. And watch the 49, the black and yellow from the start of this one. He's had a good run so far, and it's got a great history. We'll tell you about it, but he's just slotting in to second place as they head up the hill for the first time.
How do I turn that down? All right, so you got a Porsche 280Z sandwich with a Porsche there, two RSRs, the 280Z in the middle. They're at first you think, oh my God, there's a Porsche and there's the 280Zs, but the 280Z is also a 6-cylinder engine of similar displacement, a little bit less, but they were allowed to run lighter than the Porsche RSRs. And this is a track that rewards a car that has a little bit of oversteer and changes direction well. And the 280Z is very good at that. So we'll see how these guys go.
That Datsun 240, the number 49, in second place at the moment.
There
that was actually a pace car. There he is.
Yeah, there he goes.
He was a pace car for the 1972 California 500. There you go.
Yeah. And it's also not Mr. Fuller's first trip to the rodeo. He is the driving force behind Datsun 510 racing and vintage racing. So he's certainly no stranger to the track. You can see a little oversteer getting invoked in the RSR in front there, and that's going to happen in the S's in a Porsche.
And it was the 240 that Paul Newman made his fame in racing terms, right?
Yep, absolutely. Through Newman Sharp Racing, and he was also always a vigorous supporter of the Datsun cars.
64, originally an SCCA race car bearing what appears to be a 1969 912 chassis number. Interesting.
Yeah, which is quite interesting. Yeah, they're certainly there were no 912s that looked like that, but that's the chassis that they started with.
Interesting. But that's all part of the history.
Now you can see the number 4 car, Charlie Nierberg, looks the car in 4th place that just got passed. Looks like he's struggling a bit. Charlie is a very good driver.
Yeah.
Has a lot of cars and a lot of experience, but looks like he's a bit off the pace here.
Well, Charlie is, if you like, the epitome of what historic racing is all about. He has a collection of cars in Dallas, Texas. He's a performing, brilliant driver in his own right. He owns Formula One cars. He drives them. He has a land speed record from Bonneville. He's the real deal, isn't he?
Yeah. Now look at this big Greenwood Corvette moving up. When you come to power, this thing is not messing around. Look at the size of the tires on that. I mean, these were, a private company. Greenwood took Corvettes and modified them for racing. You can get some idea of the increase in track with just look at it from the rear. Look at those big screens behind the rear tires. So he is reeling these guys in every time the road straightens out, and that big V8 just gets to be opened up. You can see how low he runs at the front to try and keep the air out from under the car. The cars in their day were quite fearsome. They ran at Le Mans and terrorized many a Ferrari with the big Greenwood Corvettes.
Yep. 427 cubic inch motor with Kinsler crossflow fuel injection, renowned for reaching speeds at Daytona anyway. 224 on the banking.
Yeah, just a little 7.4 liter Chevy. That's all. There you go, a little 7 liter Chevy.
Ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah. Now here's Charlie coming back up on the front straight here. The 914.6s handle very well, but they can't match the power of the Corvette or the Dekon Monza, and aerodynamically they're not really great either. So even with a driver like Charlie, there's only so much you're going to do with one of these cars.
Yeah, I talked to Charlie about the fact that some days he's going from a car like that to a Formula One car and then back to something else. How does he get his head around it? He said sometimes it is a bit confusing, especially when you're going from, disc or drum brakes or, a power difference. Obviously, the track is completely different when you have different kinds of cars from different eras. So,
yeah, and it's funny, Charlie and I were talking about this as both of us have been racing a long time, and as we're getting older, we're being more drawn to cars with smaller displacement that handle really well, as opposed to bigger cars with bigger tires that don't handle as well, but might have a lot of horsepower. You can see there that 911 just muscled his way around him there. There was no way Charlie was going to keep behind him much longer. Look at the difference in tire size between that 911-based car and the 914.6.
1980s Winston IMSA GTO series. That's what that number 41 competed on, and was specifically built for.
Right. So that's a car that's mostly tube frame with the center section of the standard Porsche, and the rules were pretty dynamic then. They were changing every few years. Yeah,
you can see from the
here's
bodywork.
Another Corvette making its way up in the field here, and that's car number 25.
Yeah, that's Chris Springer.
Yeah, 1968 Corvette. Also being harried by what looks like a Dekon Monza behind him. Yeah, there we go. There's 2 Dekon Monzas. That red one is Kenny Epsman, I'm sure. And the, can't see the number yet on the white car. Number 6. Number 6 is Rick Jeffrey, no stranger to the Dekon Monza or Group 7 cars either.
Well, that Corvette held the most national championship titles in its era, run throughout the West Coast in Trans Am and IMSA. And so it has a good history too, for sure. Sure.
Yeah, people often, it's easy to complain about the lack of parity in vintage racing, but when you look a little closer and spend a little more time, what ends up happening is you have 3 or 4 races within a race. You know, these
Yeah.
4 guys are within 15, 20 car lengths of each other. The guys at the front are having a similar thing. You know, Epstein just threaded his way past another car there, and I suspect Mr. Rick Jeffrey will be the next one to be seeing Ken Epstein's taillights when the opportunity arises. And it looks like it's going to arise right here. And he gets the Corvette at the same time. So Ken is really, really good in this particular car. He's very comfortable with it. He's been racing it for a long time. It's really well set up. And if you know Ken, you know he's such a shy guy. He hardly ever talks about it.
Well, it was the Dekon was built by Dekon Engineering and modified by Dylan Spencer and driven by Chris Cord and Jim Adams through 1982.
Boy, talk about an honor roll of people there.
Yep.
Dylan Spencer, one of the greatest fabricators ever on the West Coast. Chris Cord certainly needs some introduction there. I mean, a bunch of good people involved with that car for a long time. You can see the rules required. You see the stock rear bumper and the stock rear taillights in that last shot. You know, they're dwarfed by all the flares and fenders, but that's what the class required back then. They also had to have a stock front windscreen.
Now, this Dekon was driven by an ex-Olympic snow skier, Jerry Jolly.
Mm-hmm.
I like that story.
Well. And I would say things must be pretty stable at the front since we're not getting much view there.
Yeah, Martin Lauber, I think, might have. Well, he's not checked out, but Byrne's given him a good run for his money. But not a surprise to see Martin at the front. Epsman making his way through. He's now 7th.
Yeah, but I mean, it's if I had Byrne in my mirrors and he was only 0.07 of a lap behind me. Oh, man, looks like Byrne just took the lead from Lauber. There we go.
Yep, there we go.
Yeah, it's pretty tough sledding against a well-driven Greenwood Vet here. That's one of those cars that just works well here. The RSR does not have the horsepower to answer the question when the Greenwood asks.
And as we said, in a straight line, that is a fast motor car.
Yeah.
It's actually been rumored to get over, not rumored, but it's down here on its bio saying that John Greenwood himself took the car above 230 miles an hour.
Yeah, well, believe it or not, that's not as big an advantage here at Sonoma as you would think. You see how close Martin's getting behind him. There's not a lot of full throttle time at this track.
No, there isn't.
That's one reason why it's so challenging. And so in some ways, he's carrying all the weight and mass to produce all that big horsepower, but he's not able to use it as much. One thing that might be coming into play here a little bit, the Porsches on really hot days face more, since they're air cooled, face some power production challenges. When the Porsche oil temperature gets much over 220, the engines are quite challenged, whereas if the Greenwood Vet has got a lot of cooling, and even if he loses a little horsepower, he's still in good shape. Epsman steadily working his way up. I don't have a grid sheet. Where did he start? He started well back.
I think outside the top 10 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly made quite a good charge, and he just put Mr. Nierberg behind him, and now he's going to be closing on Hill. There's your front 4, and again, those guys have been close all race.
Yeah, like you say, this is rare that you get so much close racing at the front. Usually what you do get, as you say, in historics is pockets of racing.
Yeah.
Anyway. In fact, actually, he started 19th. There you
go.
Yeah,
and Kenny is notorious for this. He'll sandbag in qualifying and then work his way up through the track.
Yeah, well, Patrick Byrne, of course, I hadn't realized this. I've seen Patrick out there, but I didn't realize he's an ex-Asian Le Mans Series champion, double SCCA regional champion, so a pretty handy peddler.
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why he's at the front.
It's one of those irritating combinations of a good car and a good driver. Yep. It's really annoying when it comes together, I know.
I know. Who's this upstart Button everybody's been talking about?
Yeah, I mean, the guy wins a few races in another country and thinks he's all over
I know. What are you going to do? Delighted to have him on board. He's a Californian now,
Now, what has happened to Martin Lauber? It looks like he is not figuring in the front 3 anymore.
That's interesting.
I'm telling you, I think Martin was down on power. I really do. Martin can really pedal, and he was just not able to stay with him.
And that's the 6 of Jeffrey.
Yep.
The Dekon Monza from 76. Currently in 6th. But we've been watching this nice little three-way battle here.
Oh, no, that's Lauber in front.
No, Lauber's still there.
The Corvette has dropped out.
Yes.
The Corvette has dropped out. I've got to stop drinking at lunch. Yeah, yeah, the Corvette has dropped out, so now we're back to where we started with the 2 Porsches and the Datsun. And, of course, here's Kenny making his charge, now in 4th. And I don't know if he's got enough laps left to get this
to get up further,
done. Yeah. He's only 4 seconds behind. And those guys are busy fighting with each other, which is going to play into Kenny's favor.
Yep, he's got a few laps to do it.
Kenny has only got, 1,647,000 laps of this course under his belt. So, and very good driver.
What would you say
very good sportsman.
Is your most raced laps around a circuit? Where have you done the most?
Probably Laguna and Thunder Hill. I think. Yeah.
Well, our Group 7 is spread out, but not at the front.
No, Martin's doing a good job keeping him behind him.
Yep. So it's Lauber, Taylor, and Fuller. Epsman coming. There you see
there he is.
Ken Epsman. He's not far away at all.
Now there's a real problem because Kenny can see his quarry.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets dangerous.
Seeing is believing in motor racing. That's an expression that should have been invented for racing.
If you can get to a video screen, you should watch this because this is going to be something to see, I think. Look where they're braking, and then if the camera pans to it, look where Epsman's going to brake, and hopefully they'll see him hurl this car through the S's.
Yeah, he's not far behind right now.
Kenny wears this car like an old pair of shoes. He's really comfortable in it, and he can really hustle that car around.
Big wide line there by Lauber, but he swings it, slingshots it round.
I think Fuller's tires are probably getting hot. Whoa, there we go.
Oh,
no, that's not what we want to see. No. Oh man, that's a shame.
That's a shame. And what happened? Lauber got, I think, on just got a wheel off. He went wide and then found himself trying to grapple back because I was surprised to see him as wide as he was.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Yeah, what a shame. Both really good drivers, but it's so hot out there, and the tires are carrying so much heat, and they're driving hard.
Yeah.
And as we all know, the tires get pretty non-linear when they start exceeding their optimal temperature range.
So now, what's that going to do? Because
that's going to put Taylor in first and Epsman in second once they go past start finish.
Well, we got a full course caution, so I think that could be how we finish it too, because it's going to be a while to get those out the way. Luckily, well, I say luckily, but it was, I think, a concrete piece that won't change having to adjust the track at all.
Right.
But those cars are going to have to be towed away, I'm afraid.
Now, I hate to say this, but it looks like Mr. Goldsmith passed under the yellow there. He went by that Corvette.
That's a very good point.
And unless there's a time machine here on track somewhere, that was clearly yellow.
Your eyes don't deceive you. I saw it too. I did see it.
So now clearly the Corvette is realizing, he's like, hey, buddy, I want my space back because they're under a yellow, and he's crowding them in the turn. Maybe Goldsmith will figure it out. Oh, boy, he's given him every gentleman's notice he could that he took a position under yellow.
Yeah. Well, he should see the yellow.
He should, but, sometimes things get a little misty out there.
Yep, I get it.
So it looks like we're going to go back to a full course green, though.
Well, that would be good. If we can finish the race, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll soon find out.
Yeah, we'll see when we get a shot coming out of the carousel there.
So Taylor leads from Epsman and now Hill. Jeffrey up to 4th. Lindbergh, he's counting his lucky stars. He's gone from 10th to 5th.
Yeah, it's worked out well for him, just being patient. Yeah. Now so we must be off the yellow because there's another pass there.
Yeah. Well, and here's Carey.
Yep.
Eisenlaw. Eisenlaw. I'll get it right. I finally got it right. Eisenlaw. Great name. Good German name. And there's the 55 coming into shot. That's the 911 RSR from 74. Chet Taylor at the wheel.
So I'd like to see what kind of progress Epsman's making at the front there. I suspect the pressure is now on.
Yeah, he's got to go for the win now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so we've still got the double wave yellow.
Double yellow.
Yeah.
So
that's a Samposi car there.
Yeah, but help me out here, Jonathan. I've seen at least 3 or 4 passes, but that looks like a full course yellow, doesn't it? Maybe I'm confused.
Yeah, no, that to me looks like a full course yellow because it's a double yellow.
Yeah.
And look, yellow
yeah,
again.
double yellow there.
So that would mean that it's not a local, it's a full course yellow. So you're right, no overtaking should be allowed.
We've just described several good passes.
Yep.
So
don't ask me. Don't ask me. World's gone mad.
Somebody's crawling here. Is that the pace car?
No, that's... I don't know who that is, but it's not the pace car, no. Well, we had the NASCAR finish under safety. This is going to probably do the same.
Yeah, I mean, everybody seems to have figured out now that the race is on pause. But I don't see where the leaders are at this point.
Well, it's still showing Taylor, Epsman, and Hill.
Yeah.
That makes sense because certainly the caution came out before Epsman had a chance to do anything about it.
So did we get a bunch of back markers in between Epsman and Hill? Because otherwise Kenny would be right on the bumper of Taylor under a yellow flag for sure. He's a pretty savvy guy.
Yeah, that's where the clear up is on aisle 6, so to speak.
Clean up on aisle 6, bring them up.
I'm afraid so. No, I joke about it, but no, I hate to see any of these cars
no, it's terrible.
Get damaged.
Andrew Cannon in a Batmobile there, followed by Byron Sanborn. Byron, another excellent driver. He's driven just about everything. Oh, that's what's happened. So Kenny is trapped between back markers.
Okay.
And the leader has wisely decided to gap everybody.
Yeah, and it's lap 10, so I think, to be honest, we're going to finish
but
here.
Certainly the drive of the day by Mr. Epsman there.
Still got one car in the wall.
Yeah.
Well.
And that's a shame because Martin, not too that long ago, they finished an extensive restoration on that car.
Yeah, it was a weird one because he just touched a wheel on the grass, and it just shows you it's so dry here in this part of California. Not a lot of rain in the summer, and once you get on that,
the other
like
thing
ice.
that happens there is that there's a drop off in the pavement. So once the wheel has gone over that, you're kind of hooked on that side of it, and pretty tough to recover from that one.
So it's going to be Chet Taylor in a surprise win in the 74 911 RSR.
No kidding. Yeah, that's great.
RSR, and well done to him as he comes out at 12 and will greet the checkered flag in a surprise win. He probably won't know why he's won yet because the leaders had,
I'm sure he's seen the crash.
Yeah,
he
figured
it out.
So he's figured it out. So that concludes it, and good stuff. Top 3 being Chet Taylor, Ken Epsman, who we thought might win the race if it had gone and stayed green, and John Hill, the top 3. Rick Jeffrey in 4th position, Richard Goldsmith in 5th, and Chris Springer in 6th position. Well, as we finish off that under safety, we'll take a short break. My thanks once again to Scott Dernick coming in and enjoying this one with us. I hope you've enjoyed your weekend.
Absolutely. It's been great that this event just gets better every year. Next year it's going to be in June, which couldn't be more perfect. We'll be back to the balance of a great event at the beginning of summer and a great event at the end of summer. And really looking forward to it. I think Jeff and his team, Ardell and Ryan, all those guys have done just a fantastic job. Very user-friendly and just a great race. We all look forward to it.
Well put. June 6th to June 8th. Put it in your diary. Come on, join us next time out at Velocity Invitational. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back with more action after this.